So me and Tabitha have got some questions for you that we will be asking you. And I will start off the questions. My first question for you is, why did you choose to focus this year's report on young people?
I'm really passionate about the health and well-being of children and young people in Manchester. I think partly because my job is all about improving population health and actually how healthy you are as an adult and how well you do as an adult starts from when you're born, even from before you are born. So it's really, really important. And I think in the past we've done quite a lot of work around looking at the health needs of young children, but less so about looking at young people. So children from about 11 years upwards up until the age of 18 or sometimes 25. We've had less of a focus on that in the recent past. So that's why it was really important to me to focus on that this year.
Thank you. Were there any health concerns or priorities raised by young people that surprised you?
I think there probably weren't concerns that surprised me as such, but made me think about things in a slightly different way. So, for example, one of the things that I've heard, particularly for young people for whom their heritage is outside this country, they've talked about how the impacts of things that happen elsewhere in the world that then get talked about in social media can actually affect the way that they are, the way that they feel here, perhaps the conversations that happen here that can affect their mental well-being here. And therefore, that has implications for the way in which we support those young people and address their needs. And I don't think we perhaps would have thought about it in that way if we hadn't heard that directly from young people. And I think the other one will be social media. So it didn't surprise me at all that social media would come up. But I think as an adult and a bit of an older adult, we generally tend to focus on the more negative aspects of social media, and it's almost, what do we need to do to limit people's use of social media to stop the negative impacts it can have on them. And I think the thing that I've heard is that, for a lot of people, social media is their world in a way. It's the way in which they connect. It's the way in which they make friends. It's the way in which they educate themselves, that they get information. And so it's not as straightforward as just saying, right, limit your use. But we have to think about the different forums that are available and how they are used and what we can do to kind of reduce the negative impacts of those things whilst making the most of the positive impacts. So I think it's a bit more nuanced, than perhaps I would have realised if we hadn't had those conversations with young people.
How will this report make a difference to the lives of young people in Manchester?
My hope is that by listening to young people in Manchester, so people who are growing up in Manchester now, and hearing their views on, what's good about growing up here, but also what are the challenges and what are the things that they think can make a difference. My job is almost to combine people's views and what people think with what we know from studies and research and from science, together with what we know from data, together with what decision makers and policy makers think, and bring all of those things together to inform what we do. And I think what we do should be stronger and more impactful and more effective because we've listened to what young people who are growing up in Manchester now have to say. So that's what I hope we'll see as a result of doing this report.
What have you learned from young people while creating this report?
Oh, I guess. It's the 2 points, I think, around the social media was a bit of a eye-opener for me. So I expected it to come up, but it did make me think about, I guess, the approach that we have to that being a bit less about limiting social media use and a bit more actually having proper conversations with young people about how they use it, what the benefits are, what's good about it, and what they think we need to do to reduce the potential negative impacts. And I think the other thing which I always find when I speak to young people is, for most days at work, I spend my life speaking to adults. and actually you can forget the fresh ideas and the intelligence and the brilliance that you can get from speaking to people who are younger. So that's been a really positive bit of doing this as well. And I've really welcomed all of the ideas, all of the challenges as well, and the recommendations. And I'm looking forward to seeing how much more we can do working with young people to really improve people's lives in Manchester.